Americans are starting to get a look at what elections might be like during the coronavirus pandemic, and it's not always a pretty picture, with long lines and confusion. In some states, absentee ballots went missing. These issues are not all that new to U.S. voters, though.
The problems pre-exist for a number of reasons. There just isn't enough money to run these elections. The states do it independently. That's how it's set up in the Constitution. Your right, how easy it is to exercise your right to vote, depends on your zip code in this country. It's not a uniform system.
The U.S. Congress has tried at times to set standards for how federal elections are carried out. In 1965, President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the landmark Voting Rights Act, which provided protections for minority voters. 55 years later, some are saying there needs to be a similar effort to prepare the nation for a presidential election in the middle of a public health crisis. One of the reforms being proposed is a greater reliance on mail-in instead of in-person voting. President Donald Trump, however, has said such a process is prone to widespread fraud. He's made questionable claims about the threat of so-called ballot harvesting and issued warnings of foreign governments flooding the U.S. with phony ballots. Democrats say that's not true.
Republicans are laying the groundwork to challenge the legitimacy of the election if it goes against them. They also are intensifying efforts to make it more difficult to vote by mail. I don't think that Trump and Republicans are opposed to voting by mail. I think they're alarmed that a lot of Democrats are now voting by mail.
Introducing Ballot Harvest.
A recent Republican Party advertisement suggested millions of fake ballots could be produced a day in a Democratic Party effort to steal the election.
The fix is in.
Why are Democrats trying to push this through? What is their end game? And it's obviously to open this up for fraud so that the ballot is not preserved in the sanctity of the election. So I think that's really the only partisan issue here.
If past primaries are any indication, many Americans may not feel safe going to local polling places in November. And while Republicans and Democrats argue over how to address their concerns, the real threat may be that nothing is done, and a system that has been strained under past elections could finally reach a breaking point. Anthony Zurcher, BBC News.